Does artificial food colorings cause or make ADHD worse? The answer is no. A lot of people look this up apparently. I found a lot of information about this. All of these articles that I found have been pretty much flip-flopping or pretty inconsistent, or they're just begging the question. And the answer is just no. ADHD is not caused by children eating artificial food coloring. This is a ridiculously dumb argument, but I'm going to dig into some research very quickly to show you why I think this often comes up. So the first thing you have to think about is, what do people mean when they say artificial food coloring causes ADHD? Well, there is actually some evidence that suggests that any child who eats artificial food coloring gets a little bit more hyperactive. So the claim that ADHD is caused by artificial food coloring comes from people who think that hyperactivity in and of itself is what ADHD is. That's absolutely not the case. ADHD is not only about being hyperactive. In fact, many people who have ADHD are not hyperactive whatsoever. So the idea that hyperactivity itself is ADHD and therefore food coloring causes ADHD through this link is just, it's just not the case. So let's look at one study just to see what I mean. In this study, they tested some food coloring diets, and quite simply, their result was, it has been suggested that the effect of food coloring elimination on behavior is probably not limited to children with diagnosis of ADHD, but rather also applies to hyperactive behavior in children more generally. So it's not just children with ADHD, it's just children and all children. It's not just children with ADHD. Now, let's investigate a little bit further how people come to this conclusion. So here is the NHS's website. That's the National Health Service in the United Kingdom. And they have this article about food colors and hyperactivity, right? So they talk about these certain food colors that have closely linked to hyperactivity in children. Again, they talk about hyperactivity, when again, ADHD is not just about hyperactivity. And if you do actually look at what they say, it says, well, maybe there might be a link. It's not completely certain. We need more research. So again, if there's not enough research, why even talk about this, right? Just say that there's not enough research and then end the paragraph. So that's another piece of evidence, I suppose, that kind of disproves this link, because look, it's not just for people with ADHD. So another link that I've seen being thrown around is from the Mayo Clinic, and hilariously, this link actually disproves what many people are claiming. So I don't know why people keep sharing this link. So if you go into it, we're at the Mayo Clinic. It says ADHD diet, do food additives cause hyperactivity? And right here it says some studies indicate that it might, again, they talk about hyperactive behavior in some children, which is not ADHD. And then they go on to say that the FDA determined that studies to date have not proved that there's a link between food colorings and hyperactivity. So again, just it's not there. This, I don't know where this meme is coming from. They go on to say maybe food dyes. Oh, we need more research. It's like, okay, great, but it's inconclusive at best. Now, just to see one more link, maybe a little bit more towards diet, we can look at this article, which is a meta study of a bunch of different studies. So immediately, there's a bunch of lingo here, but if you just dig into it, it says, there's further research required for artificial food coloring elimination before advising this intervention as ADHD treatment. So again, just another source to pretty much prove that this weird link that has been going on forever and ever between food coloring and ADHD has just really inconclusive. Now, if there's another study that comes out and that proves that there is a conclusive link, then I'll happily share that and look into that. But at the moment, food coloring in and of itself is number one, not a cause for ADHD. It doesn't seem to make it worse. And the only thing it really does is maybe increase hyperactivity in children, but that's all children, and ADHD isn't just hyperactivity in and of itself. So it's just not really there's just nothing here. It's just not a logical conclusion to make. So the other thing I'll say is diet and ADHD do share a lot of links. I'm not sure about that yet. I have to do more research into that myself to get some sort of conclusion from that. So I'm not saying that diet doesn't play a role in ADHD. It probably does. It's just that food coloring itself is just not something you should be worrying about. There's much more effective treatments for ADHD than food coloring. So I did post this also on my blog. And there's a link in the description, so you can click on that and see all these sources and get the full quotes if you want to. So that's it. See you later.